condition of material. Chapter is as follows. This chapter describes the ceremony of giving a name to Krishna. It avoids the risky life of this material existence. Chapter is as follows. This chapter describes the ceremony of giving a name to Krishna. It also describes his crawling, his playing with the cows, and his eating earth, and again showing the universal form to his mother. One day, Vasudeva sent for Gargamuni, the family priest of the Yadu Vamsa, and thus Gargamuni went to the house of Nanda Maharaj, who received him very well and requested him to give names to Krishna and Balaram. Gargamuni, of course, reminded Nanda Maharaj that Kamsa was looking for the son of Devaki, and that if he performed the ceremony very gorgeously, the ceremony would come to the notice of Kamsa, who would then suspect that Krishna was the son of Devaki. Nanda Maharaj therefore requested Gargamuni to perform this ceremony without anyone's knowledge, and Gargamuni did so. Because Balaram, the son of Rohini, increases the transcendental bliss of others, his name is Ram, and because of his extraordinary strength he is called Baladev. He attracts the Yadus to follow his instructions, and therefore his name is Shankarshan. Krishna, the son of Yashoda, previously appeared in many other colors, such as white, red, and yellow, and now he had assumed the color black. Because he was sometimes the son of Vasudeva, his name is Vasudeva. According to his various activities and qualities, he has many other names. After thus informing Nanda Maharaj and completing the name-giving ceremony, Gargamuni advised Nanda Maharaj to protect his son very carefully, and then departed. Shukadeva Goswami next described how the two children crawled, walked on their small legs, played with the cows and calves, stole butter and other milk products, and broke the butter pots. In this way, he described many naughty activities of Krishna and Balaram. The most wonderful of these occurred when Krishna's playmates complained to Mother Yashoda that Krishna was eating earth. Yashoda wanted to open Krishna's mouth to see the evidence so that she could chastise him. Sometimes she assumed the position of a chastising mother, and at the next moment she was overwhelmed with maternal love. After describing all this to Maharaj Parikshit, Shukadeva Goswami, at Maharaj Parikshit's request, praised the fortune of Mother Yashoda and Nanda. Nanda and Yashoda were formerly Drona and Dara, and by the order of Brahma they came to this earth and had the Supreme Personality of Godhead as their son. Text 1. Shukadeva Goswami said, O Maharaj Parikshit, the priest of the Yadu dynasty, namely Gargamuni, who was highly elevated in austerity and penance, was then inspired by Vasudeva to go see Nanda Maharaj at his home. Text 2. When Nanda Maharaj saw Gargamuni present at his home, Nanda was so pleased that he stood up to receive him with folded hands. Although seeing Gargamuni with his eyes, Nanda Maharaj could appreciate that Gargamuni was adhoksaja, that is, he was not an ordinary person seed by material senses. Text 3. When Gargamuni had been properly received as a guest and was very comfortably seated, Nanda Maharaj submitted with gentle and submissive words, Dear sir, because you are a devotee, you are full in everything. My duty is to serve you. Kindly order me. What can I do for you? Text 4. O my Lord, O great devotee, persons like you move from one place to another, not for their own interests, but for the sake of poor-hearted grihastas, householders. Otherwise they have no interest in going from one place to another. Purport. As factually stated by Nanda Maharaj, Gargamuni, being a devotee, has no needs. Similarly, when Krishna comes, he has no needs, for he is Purna, Atmaram. Nevertheless, he descends to this material world to protect the devotees and vanquish miscreants. Pritanaya sadhanam vinasaya chaduskritam. This is the mission of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and devotees also have the same mission. One who executes the mission of para upakar, performing welfare activities for people in general, is recognized by Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as being very, very dear to him. Nachatasmin manosyeshu kashin me prikritama. Similarly, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has advised this parak upakar, and he has especially advised the inhabitants of India. Bharata bhumeti haila manusi janmayara janma sarthaka karikara apara upakara. Quote, one who has taken his birth as a human being in the land of India, Bharatvarsh, should make his life successful and work for the benefit of all other people. End quote. Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila 941. On the whole, the duty of a pure Vaishnava devotee is to act for the welfare of others. Nanda Maharaj could understand that Gargamuni had come for this purpose, and that his own duty now was to act according to Gargamuni's advice. Thus he said, quote, please tell me what is my duty, end quote. This should be the attitude of everyone, especially the householder. The Varnashram society is organized into 8 divisions: Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas. Nanda Maharaj represented himself as a Grihinam, householder. Brahmachari factually has no needs, but a Grihi, householders, are engaged in sense gratification. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 2:44, Bhogaishvarya prashaktanam tayapayita chetasam. Everyone has to come to this material world for sense gratification, and the position of those who are too attached to sense gratification and who therefore accept the Grihastha ashram is very precarious. Since everyone in this material world is searching for sense gratification, Grihasthas are required to be trained as Mahat, great Mahatmas. Therefore, Nanda Maharaj specifically used the word Mahad Vichalanam. Gargamuni had no interest to serve by going to Nanda Maharaj, but Nanda Maharaj, as a Grihastha, was always perfectly ready to receive instructions from a Mahatma to gain the real benefit in life. Thus, he was ready to execute Gargamuni's order. Text 5. O great saintly person, you have compiled the astrological knowledge by which one can understand past and present unseen things. By the strength of this knowledge, any human being can understand what he has done in his past life and how it affects his present life. This is known to you. Purport. The word destiny is now defined. Unintelligent persons who do not understand the meaning of life are just like animals. Animals do not know the past, present, and future of life, nor are they able to understand it, but a human being can understand this if he is sober. Therefore, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 2:13, Dhiras tatra namuyati. A sober person is not bewildered. This simple truth is that, although life is eternal, in this material world one changes from one body to another. Foolish people, especially in this age, do not understand this simple truth. Krishna says, Dehinosminita dehe komarom yuvanam jara, tata dehantara prabdi dhiras tatra namuyati. Quote, as the embodied soul continually passes in this body, from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. The self-realized soul is not bewildered by such a change. End quote. Bhagavad Gita 2:13. Krishna, the greatest authority, says that the body will change, and as soon as the body changes, one's whole program of work changes also. Today I am a human being or a great personality, but with a little deviation from nature's law, I shall have to accept a different type of body. Today I'm a human being, but tomorrow I may become a dog, and then whatever activities I have performed in this life will be a failure. This simple truth is now rarely understood, but one who is a Dhira can understand this. Those in this material world for material enjoyment should know that because their present position will cease to exist, they must be careful in how they act. This is also stated by Rishabdev. Nasadamanye yata atmanoyam asana pikleshada ashadeha. Srimad Bhagavatam 5.5.4. Although this body is temporary, as long as we have to live in this body, we must suffer. Whether one has a short life or long life, one must suffer the threefold miseries of material life. Therefore, any gentleman, Dhira, must be interested in Jyotisa, astrology. Nanda Maharaj was trying to take advantage of the opportunity afforded by Gargamuni's presence, for Gargamuni was a great authority in this knowledge of astrology by which one can see the unseen events of past, present, and future. It is the duty of a father to understand the astrological position of his children and do what is needed for their happiness. Now, taking advantage of the opportunity afforded by the presence of Gargamuni, Nanda Maharaj suggested that Gargamuni prepare a horoscope for Nanda's two sons, Krishna and Balaram. Text 6. My Lord, you are the best of the Brahmanas, especially because you are fully aware of the Jyotish Shastra, the astrological science. Therefore, you are naturally the spiritual master of every human being. This being so, since you have kindly come to my house, kindly execute the reformatory activities for my two sons. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, says in Bhagavad Gita 4.13, Chatur Varnam Mayashrishtam Gunakarma Vibhagasa. The four Varnas, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, must be present in society. The Brahmanas are required for the guidance of the whole society. If there is no such institution as Varnashram Dharma, and if human society has no such guide as the Brahmana, human society will be hellish. In Kali Yuga, especially at the present moment, there is no such thing as a real Brahmana, and therefore society is in a chaotic condition. Formerly, there were qualified Brahmanas, but at present, although there are certainly persons who think themselves Brahmanas, they actually have no ability to guide society. The Krishna consciousness movement is therefore very much eager to reintroduce the Varnashram Dharma system into human society so that those who are bewildered or less intelligent will be able to take guidance from qualified Brahmanas. Brahmana means Vaishnav. If one becomes a Brahmana, the next stage of development in human society is to become a Vaishnava. People, in general, must be guided to the destination or goal of life, and therefore they must understand Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The whole system of Vedic knowledge is based on this principle, but people have lost the clue. Nate vidu sarvagatim Vishnum, and they are simply pursuing sense gratification with the risk of gliding down to a lower grade of life, Mrityu samsara vartmani. It doesn't matter whether one is born a Brahmana or not. No one is born a Brahmana. Everyone is born a Sudra. But by the guidance of a Brahmana and by samskara, one can become Dvija, twice born, and then gradually become a Brahmana. Brahmanism is not a system meant to create a monopoly for a particular class of men. Everyone should be educated as to how to become a Brahmana. At least there must be an opportunity to allow everyone to obtain the destination of life. Regardless of whether one is born in a Brahmana family, a Kshatriya family, or a Shudra family, one may be guided by a proper Brahmana and be promoted to the highest platform of being a Vaishnava. Thus, the Krishna consciousness movement affords an opportunity to develop the right destiny for human society. Nanda Maharaj took advantage of the opportunity of Gargamuni's presence by requesting him to perform the necessary reformatory activities for his sons to guide them toward the destination of life. Text 7. Gargamuni said, My dear Nanda Maharaj, I am the priestly guide of the Yadu dynasty. This is known everywhere. Therefore, if I perform the purificatory process for your sons, Kamsa will consider them the sons of Devaki. Purport. Gargamuni indirectly disclosed that Krishna was the son of Devaki, not of Yashoda. Since Kamsa was already searching for Krishna, if the purificatory process were undertaken by Gargamuni, Kamsa might be informed, and that would create a catastrophe. It may be argued that although Gargamuni was the priest of the Yadu dynasty, Nanda Maharaj also belonged to that dynasty. Nanda Maharaj, however, was not acting as a Kshatriya. Therefore, Gargamuni said, quote, If I act as your priest, this will confirm that Krishna is the son of Devaki. Text 8 and 9. Kamsa is both a great diplomat and a very sinful man. Therefore, having heard from Yogamaya, the daughter of Devaki, that the child who will kill him has already been born somewhere else, having heard that the 8th pregnancy of Devaki could not bring forth a female child, and having understood your friendship with Vasudeva, Kamsa, upon hearing that the purificatory process has been performed by me, the priest of the Yadu dynasty, may certainly consider all these points and suspect that Krishna is the son of Devaki and Vasudeva. Then he might take steps to kill Krishna. That would be a catastrophe. Purport. Kamsa knew very well that Yogamaya was, after all, the maidservant of Krishna and Vishnu, and that although Yogamaya had appeared as the daughter of Devaki, she might have been forbidden to disclose this fact. Actually, this was what happened. Gargamuni argued very soberly that his taking part in performing the reformatory process for Krishna would all give rise to many doubts, so that Kamsa might take very severe steps to kill the child. Kamsa had already sent many demons in attempt to kill this child, but none of them had survived. If Gargamuni were to perform the purificatory process, Kamsa's suspicions would be fully confirmed, and he would take very severe steps. Gargamuni gave this warning to Nanda Maharaj. Text 10. Nanda Maharaj said, "My dear great sage, if you think that your performing this process of purification will make Kamsa suspicious, then secretly chant the Vedic hymns and perform the purifying process of second birth here, in the cowshed of my house, without the knowledge of anyone else, even my relatives, for this process of purification is essential." Purport. Nanda Maharaj did not like the idea of avoiding the purificatory process. Despite the many obstacles, he wanted to take advantage of Gargamuni's presence and do what was needed. The purificatory process is essential, especially for Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas. Therefore, since Nanda Maharaj presented himself as a Vaishya, this process of purification was essential. Formerly, such institutional activities were compulsory. Chaturvarnyam Mayasrishtam Gunakarma Vibhagasa. Bhagavad Gita 4.13. Without these activities of purification, society would be considered a society of animals. To take advantage of Gargamuni's presence, Nanda Maharaj wanted to perform the Namkarana ceremonies, even secretly, without any gorgeous arrangements. Therefore, the opportunity for purification should be regarded as the essential duty of human society. In Kali Yuga, however, people have forgotten the essence. Manda sumanda matayo manda bhagya upadrita. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.10. In this age, people are all bad and unfortunate, and they do not accept Vedic instructions to make their life successful. Nanda Maharaj, however, did not want to neglect anything. To keep intact a happy society advanced in spiritual knowledge, he took full advantage of Gargamuni's presence to do what was necessary. How degraded society has become within 5,000 years. Manda samanda matayo madhya bhagya. The human life is obtained after many, many millions of births, and it is intended for purification. Previously, a father was eager to give all kinds of help to elevate his children, but at present, because of being misguided, people are prepared even to kill or to avoid the responsibility of raising children. Text 11. Shukadeva Goswami continued, having thus been especially requested by Nanda Maharaj to do that which he already desired to do, Gargamuni performed the name-giving ceremony for Krishna and Balaram in a solitary place. Text 12. Gargamuni said, "This child, the son of Rohini, will give all happiness to his friends and relatives by his transcendental qualities. Therefore, he will be known as Rama. And because he will manifest extraordinary bodily strength, he will also be known as Bala. Moreover, because he unites two families, Vasudeva's family and the family of Nanda Maharaj, he will be known as Sankarshan." Purport. Baladev was actually the son of Devaki, but he was transferred from Devaki's womb to that of Rohini. This fact was not disclosed. According to the statement in Harivamsa, Pratyu vacha tato rama sarvam stan abhitastitan yadaveshu apisarveshu bhavanto mama valabha Gargamuni did not disclose to Nanda Maharaj that Balaram would be known as Sankarshan because of uniting two families, the Yadu Vamsa and the Vamsa of Nanda Maharaj, one of which was known as Kshatriya and the other as Vaishya. Both families had the same original forefather, the only difference being that Nanda Maharaj was born of a Vaishya wife, whereas Vasudeva was born of a Kshatriya wife. Later, Nanda Maharaj married a Vaishya wife and Vasudeva married a Kshatriya wife. So, although the families of Nanda Maharaj and Vasudeva both came from the same father, they were divided as Kshatriya and Vaishya. Now, Baladev united them, and therefore he was known as Sankarshan. Text 13. Your son Krishna appeared as an incarnation in every millennium. In the past, he assumed 3 different colors, white, red, and yellow. And now he has appeared in a blackish color. In another Dwapara Yuga, he appeared as Lord Ramachandra in the color of Shuka, a parrot. All such incarnations have now assembled in Krishna. Purport. Partially explaining the position of Krishna and partially covering the facts, Gargamuni indicated, quote, your son is a great personality, and he can change the color of his body in different ages, end quote. The word Grinata indicates that Krishna is free to make his choice. In other words, he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and may therefore do whatever he desires. In Vedic literature, the different colors assumed by the Personality of Godhead in different millenniums are stated, and therefore when Gargamuni said, quote, your son has assumed these colors, end quote, he indirectly said, quote, he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, end quote. Because of Kamsa's atrocities, Gargamuni tried to avoid disclosing this fact, but he indirectly informed Nanda Maharaj that Krishna, his son, was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It may be noted that Srila Jiva Goswami in his book Krama Sandarbha has enunciated the purport of this verse. In every millennium, Krishna appears in a different form, either as white, red, or yellow, but this time he personally appeared in his original blackish form. Because in this form the Supreme Personality of Godhead exhibits himself fully, his name is Sri Krishna, the all-attractive. Factually, Krishna is the source of all avatars, and therefore all the different features of the different avatars are present in Krishna. When Krishna incarnates, all the features of other incarnations are already present within him. Other incarnations are partial representations of Krishna, who is the full-fledged incarnation of the Supreme Being. It is to be understood that the Supreme Being, whether appearing as Shukla, Rakta, or Pita, white, red, or yellow, is the same person. When he appears in different incarnations, he appears in different colors, just like the sunshine, which contains 7 colors. Sometimes the colors of sunshine are represented separately, otherwise the sunshine is observed mainly as a bright light. The different avatars, such as the Manvantar avatars, Lila avatars, and Dasha avatars, are all included in the Krishna avatar. When Krishna appears, all the avatars appear with him. As described in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.3.26, Avatara hi asankyeya hare sattva nidhir dvija yata vida sina kulya sarasa shu sahasrasha. The avatars incessantly appear, like incessantly flowing water. No one can count how many waves there are in flowing water, and similarly, there is no limitation to the avatars. And Krishna is the full representation of all avatars because he is the source of all avatars. Krishna is Amshi, whereas others are Amsa, parts of Krishna. All living entities, including us, are Amsas. Mamai Vamso Jiva Loke Jiva Bhukta Sanatana. These amshas are of different magnitude. Human beings who are minute amshas and the demigods, Vishnu Tattva, and all other living beings are part of the Supreme. Nityo Nityanam Chaitanas Chaitananam. Kata Upanishad 2.2.13. Krishna is the full representation of all living entities, and when Krishna is present, all avatars are included in him. The 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam describes the incarnations for each yuga in chronological order. The Bhagavatam says, Krite Shuklas Chaturbahu Traitayam Raktavarno Shao Dwapare Bhagavan Shyama and Krishna Varnam Trishakrishnam. We actually see that in Kali Yuga, Bhagavan has appeared in Pita Varna, a yellow color, as Gaur Sundar, although the Bhagavatam speaks of Krishna Varnam. To adjust all these statements, we should understand that although in some yugas some of the colors are prominent, in every yuga when Krishna appears, all the colors are present. Krishna Varnam Trisha Krishnam. Although Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appears without Krishna, or a blackish color, he is understood to be Krishna himself. Idanim Krishna Tam Gata. The same original Krishna who appears in different varnas has now appeared. The word asan indicates that he is always present. Whenever the Supreme Personality of Godhead appears in his full feature, he is understood to be Krishna Varnam, although he appears in different colors. Prahlad Maharaj states that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Chana, that is, although he is Krishna, he is covered by a yellow color. Thus, the Gaudiya Vaishnavas accept the conclusion that although Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared in a Pita color, he is Krishna. Krishna Varnam Tisha Krishnam Sangopangastra Parshadam Yajnai Sankirtana Prayar Yantihi Sumedasa. Srimad Bhagavatam 11.5.32. Text 14. For many reasons, this beautiful son of yours sometimes appeared previously as the son of Vasudeva. Therefore, those who are learned sometimes call this child Vasudeva. Purport. Gargamuni indirectly disclosed, quote, this child was originally born as the son of Vasudeva, although he is acting as your child. Generally, he is your child, but sometimes he is the son of Vasudeva, end quote. Text 15. For this son of yours, there are many forms and names according to his transcendental qualities and activities. These are known to me, but people in generally do not understand them. Purport. Bahuni. The Lord has many names. Advaitam achyutam anadiman antarupam adyam purana purusham navayovanam cha. As stated in Brahma Samhita 533, the Lord is one, but he has many forms and many names. It was not that because Gargamuni gave the child the name Krishna, that was his only name. He has other names such as Bhaktavatsal, Giridhari, Govinda, and Gopal. If we analyze the nirukti, or the semantic derivation of the word Krishna, we find that na signifies that he stops the repetition of birth and death, and Krish means shatartha, or existence. Krishna is the whole of existence. Also, Krish means attraction, and na means ananda, or bliss. Krishna is known as Mukunda because he wants to give everyone spiritual, eternal, blissful life. Unfortunately, because of the living entity's little independence, the living entity wants to, quote, deprogram, end quote, the program of Krishna. This is the material disease. Nonetheless, because Krishna wants to give transcendental bliss to the living entities, he appears in different forms. Therefore, he is called Krishna. Because Gargamuni was an astrologer, he knew that what others did not know. Yet Krishna has so many names that even Gargamuni did not know all of them. It is to be concluded that Krishna, according to his transcendental activities, has many names and many forms. Text 16. To increase the transcendental bliss of the cowherd men of Gokul, this child will always act auspiciously for you, and by his grace only you will surpass all difficulties. Purport. For the cowherd men and the cows, Krishna is the supreme friend. Therefore he is worshipped by the prayer, Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmanya Hitaicha. His pastimes in Gokul, his dham, are always favorable to the brahmanas and the cows. His first business is to give all comfort to the cows and the brahmanas. In fact, comfort for the brahmanas is secondary, and comfort for the cows is his first concern. Because of his presence, all people would overcome all difficulties and always be situated in transcendental bliss. Text 17. O Nanda Maharaj, as recorded in history, when there was an irregular, incapable government, Indra having been dethroned and people were being harassed and disturbed by thieves, this child appeared in order to protect the people and enable them to flourish, and he curbed the rogues and thieves. Purport. Indra is the king of the universe. Demons, thieves, and rogues always disturb Indra, Indrari Vyakulam Lokam. But when Indraris, or the enemies of Indra, become prominent, Krishna appears. Krishnastu Bhagavan Sayam, Indrari Vyakulam Lokam Mridayanti Yuge Yuge. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.3.28. Text 18. Demons, asuras, cannot harm the demigods who always have Lord Vishnu on their side. Similarly, any person or group attached to Krishna is extremely fortunate. Because such persons are very much affectionate toward Krishna, they cannot be defeated by demons like the associates of Kamsa or by the internal enemies, the senses. Text 19. In conclusion, therefore, O Nanda Maharaj, this child of yours is as good as Narayan. In his transcendental qualities, opulence, name, fame, and influence, he is exactly like Narayan. You should raise this child very carefully and cautiously. Purport. In this verse, the word Narayana Sama is significant. Narayan has no equal. He is Asamardva. No one is equal to him, and no one is greater than he. As stated in the Shastra, Yastu Narayanam Devam Brahma Rudrani Daivatai Samatvenaiva Vikseta Sa Pashandi Bhavet Dhruvam. One who equates Narayan even with great exalted demigods like Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma is a Pashandi, or agnostic. No one can equal Narayan. Nonetheless, Gargamuni used the word sama, meaning equal, because he wanted to treat Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead who had become Nanda Maharaj's son. Gargamuni wanted to impress upon the mind of Nanda Maharaj, quote, "Your worshipable deity, Narayan, is so pleased with you that he has sent you a son almost equal to him in qualifications. Therefore you may designate your son with a similar name, such as Mukunda or Madhusudana. But you must always remember that whenever you want to do something very good, there will be many hindrances. Therefore you should raise and protect this child with great care. If you can protect this child very cautiously, as Narayan always protects you, the child will be as good as Narayan." End quote. Gargamuni also indicated that although the child was exaltedly qualified, like Narayan, he would enjoy more than Narayan as Rasa Vihari, the central enjoyer of the rasa dance. As stated in the Brahma Samhita, Lakshmi Sahasra Shata Sambrahma Sevimanam, he would be served by many gopis, who would all be as good as the goddess of fortune. Text 20. Sri Shukadeva Goswami continued, after Gargamuni, having instructed Nanda Maharaj about Krishna, departed for his own home, Nanda Maharaj was very pleased and considered himself full of all good fortune. Purport. Krishna is the supersoul, and Nanda Maharaj is the individual soul. By the instructions of Gargamuni, both of them were blessed. Nanda Maharaj was thinking of Krishna's safety from the hands of demons like Putana and Shakatashura, and because he possessed such a son, he thought of himself as most fortunate. Text 21. After a short time had passed, both brothers, Ram and Krishna, began to crawl on the ground of Raja with the strength of their hands and knees, and thus enjoy their childhood play. Purport. One Brahmana devotee says, Shrutim apare smritim itare bharatam anye bhajatu bhava bita aham ihanandam vande yasyalinde param brahma. Quote, let others, fearing material existence, worship the Vedas, the Vedic supplementary Puranas, and the Mahabharata. But I shall worship Nanda Maharaj, in whose courtyard the Supreme Brahman is crawling. End quote. For a highly exalted devotee, Kaivalya, merging into the existence of the Supreme, appears no better than hell, narakatyate. But here one can simply think of the crawling of Krishna and Balaram in the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj and always merge in transcendental happiness. As long as one is absorbed in thoughts of Krishna Lila, especially Krishna's childhood pastimes, as Prikat Maharaj desired to be, one is always merged in actual Kaivalya. Therefore, Vyasadeva compiled Srimad Bhagavatam. Lokasya janato vidams chakre satvata samhitam. Srimad Bhagavatam 176. Vyasadeva compiled Srimad Bhagavatam under the instruction of Narada, so that anyone can take advantage of this literature, think of Krishna's pastimes, and always be liberated. Shrutim apare smritim itare bharatam anye bhajantu bhavabhita aham iha nandam vande yashalinde param brahma. Text 22. When Krishna and Balaram, with the strength of their legs, crawled in the muddy places created in Vraja by cow dung and cow urine, their crawling resembled the crawling of serpents, and the sound of their ankle bells was very charming. Very much pleased by the sound of other people's ankle bells, they used to follow these people as if going to their mothers. But when they saw that these were other people, they became afraid and returned to their real mothers, Yashoda and Rohini. Purport. When Krishna and Balaram were crawling about Vrajabhumi, they were enchanted by the sound of ankle bells. Thus, they sometimes followed other people who would enjoy the crawling of Krishna and Balaram and exclaimed, quote, "Oh, see how Krishna and Balaram are crawling." End quote. Upon hearing this, Krishna and Balaram could understand that these were not their mothers, they were following, and they would return to their actual mothers. Thus, the crawling of Krishna and Balaram was enjoyed by the people of the neighborhood, as well as by Mother Yashoda and Rohini and the two children themselves. Text 23. Dressed with muddy earth mixed with cow dung and cow urine, the babies looked very beautiful, and when they went to their mothers, both Rohini and Yashoda picked them up with great satisfaction, embraced them, and allowed them to suck the milk flowing from their breasts. While sucking the breast, the babies smiled, and their small teeth were visible. Their mothers, upon seeing those beautiful teeth, enjoyed great transcendental bliss. Purport. As the mothers cared for their respective babies, by the arrangement of Yogamaya, the babies thought, quote, "Here is my mother," and the mothers thought, quote, "Here is my son." Because of affection, milk naturally flowed from the mother's breasts, and the babies drank it. When the mothers saw small teeth coming in, they would count them and be happy, and when the babies saw their mothers allowing them to drink their breast milk, the babies also felt transcendental pleasure, and as this transcendental affection continued between Rohini and Balaram and Yashoda and Krishna, they all enjoyed transcendental bliss. Text 24. Within the house of Manda Maharaj, the cowherd ladies would enjoy seeing the pastimes of the babies Ram and Krishna. The babies would catch the ends of the calves' tails, and the calves would drag them here and there. When the ladies saw these pastimes, they certainly stopped their household activities and laughed and enjoyed the incidents. Purport. While crawling in curiosity, Krishna and Balaram would sometimes catch the ends of the tails of calves. The calves, feeling that someone had caught them, began to flee here and there, and the babies would hold on very tightly, being afraid of how the calves were moving. The calves, seeing that the babies were holding them tightly, would also become afraid. Then the ladies would come to rescue the babies and gladly laugh. This was their enjoyment. Text 25. When Mother Yashoda and Rohini were unable to protect the babies from calamities threatened by horned cows, by fire, by animals with claws and teeth, such as monkeys, dogs, and cats, and by thorns, swords, and other weapons on the ground, they were always in anxieties, and their household engagements were disturbed. At that time, they were fully equipoised in the transcendental ecstasy known as the distress of material affection, for this was aroused within their minds. Purport. All these pastimes of Krishna and the great enjoyment exhibited by the mothers are transcendental. Nothing about them is material. They are described in the Brahma Samhita as Ananda Chinmaya Rasa. In the spiritual world, there is anxiety, there is crying, there are other feelings similar to those of the material world, but because the reality of these feelings is in the transcendental world, of which this world is only an imitation, Mother Yashoda and Rohini enjoyed them transcendentally. Text 26. O King Pricket, within a very short time, both Ram and Krishna began to walk very easily in Gokul with their legs by their own strength, without the need to crawl. Purport. Instead of crawling with their knees, the babies could now stand up by holding onto something and walk little by little without difficulty by the strength of their legs. Text 27. Thereafter, Lord Krishna, along with Balaram, began to play with the other children of the cowherd men, thus awakening the transcendental bliss of the cowherd women. Purport. The word Shaharama, meaning, quote, along with Balaram, end quote, is significant in this verse. In such transcendental pastimes, Krishna is the chief hero and Balaram provides additional help. Text 28. Observing the very attractive childish restlessness of Krishna, all the gopis in the neighborhood, to hear about Krishna's activities again and again, would approach Mother Yashoda and speak to her as follows. Purport. Krishna's activities are always very attractive to devotees. Therefore, the neighbors, who were friends of Mother Yashoda, informed Mother Yashoda of whatever they saw Krishna doing in the neighborhood. Mother Yasoda, just to hear about the activities of her son, stopped her household duties and enjoyed the information given by the neighborhood friends. Text 29. Our dear friend Yasoda, your son sometimes comes to our house before the milking of the cows and releases the calves, and when the master of the house becomes angry, your son merely smiles. Sometimes he devises some process by which he steals palatable curd, butter, and milk, which he then eats and drinks. When the monkeys assemble, he divides it with them, and when the monkeys have their bellies so full that they won't take any more, he breaks the pots. Sometimes, if he gets no opportunity to steal butter or milk from a house, he will become angry at the householders, and for his revenge he will agitate the small children by pinching them. Then, when the children begin crying, Krishna will go away. Purport. The narration of Krishna's naughty childhood activities would be presented to Mother Yasoda in the form of complaints. Sometimes Krishna would enter the house of a neighbor, and if he found no one there, he would release the calves before the time for the cows to be milked. The calves are actually supposed to be released when the mothers are milked, but Krishna would release them before that time, and naturally the calves would drink all the milk from their mothers. When the cowherd men saw this, they would chase Krishna and try to catch him, saying, quote, "Here is Krishna doing mischief," end quote. But he would flee and enter another house, where he would again devise some means to steal butter and curd. Then the cowherd men would again try to capture him, saying, quote, "Here is the butter thief, better capture him," end quote. And they would be angry. But Krishna would simply smile, and they would forget everything. Sometimes in their presence, he would begin eating the curd and butter. There was no need for Krishna to eat butter, since his belly was always full, but he would try to eat it, or else he would break the pots and distribute the contents to the monkeys. In this way, Krishna was always engaged in mischief-making. If in any house he could not find any butter or curd to steal, he would go into a room and agitate the small children sleeping there by pinching them, and when they cried, he would go away. Text 30. Quote, "When the milk and curd are kept high on a swing hanging from the ceiling and Krishna and Balaram cannot reach it, they arrange to reach it by piling up various planks and turning upside down the mortar for grinding spices. Being quite aware of the contents of the pot, they pick holes in it. When the elderly gopis go about their household affairs, Krishna and Balaram sometimes go into a dark room, brightening the place with the valuable jewels and ornaments on their bodies and taking advantage of this light by stealing." Purport. Formerly, in every household, yogurt and butter were kept for use in emergencies. But Krishna and Balaram would pile up planks so that they could reach the pots, and would then pick holes in the pots with their hands so that the contents would leak out and they would drink it. This was another means for stealing butter and milk. When the butter and milk were kept in a dark room, Krishna and Balaram would go there and make the place bright with the valuable jewels on their bodies. On the whole, Krishna and Balaram engaged in stealing butter and milk from the neighboring houses in many ways. Text 31. When Krishna is caught in his naughty activities, the master of the house will say to him, quote, "Oh, you are a thief," and artificially express anger at Krishna. Krishna would then reply, quote, "I am not a thief, you're a thief," end quote. Sometimes, being angry, Krishna passes urine and stool in a neat, clean place in our house. But now, our dear friend Yashoda, this expert thief is sitting before you like a very good boy, end quote. Sometimes all the gopis would look at Krishna sitting there, his eyes fearful that his mother would not chastise him, and when they saw Krishna's beautiful face, instead of chastising him, they would simply look upon his face and enjoy transcendental bliss. Mother Yashoda would mildly smile at all this fun, and she would not want to chastise her blessed transcendental child. Purport. Krishna's business in the neighborhood was not only to steal sometimes, but sometimes to pass urine and stool in a neat, clean house. Then, caught by the master of the house, Krishna would chastise him, saying, quote, "You are a thief," end quote. Aside from being a thief in his childhood affairs, Krishna acted as an expert thief when he was young by attracting young girls and enjoying them in the rasa dance. This is Krishna's business. He is also violent as the killer of many demons. Although mundane people like nonviolence and other such brilliant qualities, God, the absolute truth, being always the same, is good in any activities, even so-called immoral activities like stealing, killing, and violence. Krishna is always pure, and he is always the supreme absolute truth. Krishna may do anything supposedly abominable in material life, yet still he is attractive. Therefore, his name is Krishna, meaning, quote, all attractive, end quote. This is the platform on which transcendental loving affairs and service are exchanged. Because of the features of Krishna's face, the mothers were so attracted that they would not chastise him. Instead of chastising him, they smiled and enjoyed hearing of Krishna's past activities. Thus, the gopis remained satisfied, and Krishna enjoyed their happiness. Therefore, another name of Krishna is Gopijana Vallabha, because he invented such activities to please the gopis. Text 32. One day, while Krishna was playing with his small playmates, including Balaram and other sons of the Gopas, all his friends came together and lodged a complaint to Mother Yashoda. Quote, "Mother," they submitted, "Krishna has eaten earth." Purport. Here is another of Krishna's transcendental activities invented to please the gopis. First, a complaint was lodged with Mother Yashoda about Krishna's stealing, but Mother Yashoda did not chastise him. Now, in an attempt to awaken Mother Yashoda's anger so that she would chastise Krishna, another complaint was invented, that Krishna had eaten earth. Text 33. Upon hearing this from Krishna's playmates, Mother Yashoda, who was always full of anxiety over Krishna's welfare, picked Krishna up with her hands and looked into his mouth and chastise him. Her eyes fearful, she spoke to her son as follows. Text 34. Dear Krishna, why are you so restless that you have eaten dirt in a solitary place? This complaint has been lodged against you by all your playmates, including your elder brother Balaram. How is this? Purport. Mother Yashoda was agitated by Krishna's restless behavior. Her house was full of sweetmeats. Why, then, should the restless boy eat dirt in a solitary place? Krishna replied, quote, My dear mother, they have plotted together and lodged a complaint against me so that you will punish me. My elder brother Balaram has joined them. Actually, I have not done this. Take my words as true. Do not be angry and chastise me. End quote. Text 35. Shri Krishna replied, My dear mother, I have never eaten dirt. All my friends complaining against me are liars. If you think they are being truthful, you can directly look into my mouth and examine it. Purport. Krishna presented himself as an innocent child to increase the transcendental ecstasy of maternal affection. As described in the Shastra, Tadanan Bayam Mitoryuktir Vatsalya Rasa Poshika. This means that sometimes a small child speaks lies. For example, he may have stolen something or eaten something and yet deny that he has done so. We ordinarily see this in the material world, but in relation to Krishna it is different. Such activities are meant to endow the devotee with transcendental ecstasy. The Supreme Personality of Godhead was playing as a liar and accusing all other devotees as being liars. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 10.12.11, Krita Punya Punya. A devotee may attain such an ecstatic position after many, many births of devotional service. Persons who have amassed the results of vast amount of pious activities can attain the stage of associating with Krishna and playing with him like ordinary playmates. One should not consider these transactions of transcendental service to be untruthful accusations. One should never accuse such devotees of being ordinary boys speaking lies, for they have attained this stage of associating with Krishna by great austerities. Tapasa brahmacharyena samena cha damena cha. Text 36. Mother Yasoda challenged Krishna, quote, "If you have not eaten earth, then open your mouth wide," end quote. When challenged by his mother in this way, Krishna, the son of Nanda Maharaj and Yasoda, to exhibit pastimes like a human child, opened his mouth. Although the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, who is full of all opulences, did not disturb his mother's paternal affection, his opulence was automatically displayed, for Krishna's opulence is never lost at any stage, but is manifest at the proper time. Purport. Without disturbing the ecstasy of his mother's affection, Krishna opened his mouth and displayed his own natural opulences. When a person is given varieties of food, there may be 101 varieties, but if one likes ordinary shakara, or spinach, he prefers to eat that. Similarly, although Krishna was full of opulences, now, by the order of Mother Yashoda, he opened wide his mouth like a human child and did not neglect the transcendental humor of maternal affection. Text 37 through 39. When Krishna opened his mouth wide by the order of Mother Yashoda, she saw within his mouth all moving and non-moving entities, outer space, and all directions, along with mountains, islands, oceans, the surface of the earth, the blowing wind, fire, the moon, and the stars. She saw the planetary systems, water, light, air, sky, and creation by transformation of Ankhankar. She also saw the senses, the mind, sense perception, and the three qualities of goodness, passion, and ignorance. She saw the time allotted for the living entities. She saw natural instinct and the reactions of karma, and she saw desires and different varieties of bodies, moving and non-moving. Seeing all these aspects of the cosmic manifestation along with herself and Vrindavan Dham, she became doubtful and fearful of her son's nature. Purport. All the cosmic manifestation that exists on the gross and subtle elements, as well as the means of their agitation, the three gunas, the living entity, creation, maintenance, annihilation, and everything going on in the external energy of the Lord, all this comes from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda. Everything is within the control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 9:10. Maya dakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam. Everything in the material nature, Prakriti, works under his control. Because all these manifestations come from Govinda, they could all be visible within the mouth of Govinda. Quite astonishingly, Mother Yashoda was afraid because of intense maternal affection. She could not believe that within the mouth of her son such things could appear. Yet she saw them, and therefore she was struck with fear and wonder. Text 40. Mother Yashoda began to argue within herself, is this a dream, or is it an illusory creation by the external energy? Has this been manifested by my own intelligence, or is it some mystic power of my child? Purport. When Mother Yashoda saw this wonderful manifestation within the mouth of her child, she began to argue within herself about whether it was a dream. Then she considered, quote, I am not dreaming because my eyes are open. I am actually seeing what is happening. I am not sleeping, nor am I dreaming. Then maybe this is an illusion created by Deva Maya. But that is also not possible. What business would the demigods have showing such things to me? I am an insignificant woman with no connection to the demigods. Why should they take the trouble to put me into Deva Maya? That is also not possible. Then Mother Yashoda considered whether the vision may be due to bewilderment. Quote, I am fit in health. I am not diseased. Why should there be any bewilderment? It is not possible that my brain is deranged, since I am ordinarily quite fit to think. Then this vision must be due to some mystic power of my son, as predicted by Gargamuni, end quote. Thus, she finally concluded that the vision was due to her son's activities, and nothing else. Text 41. Therefore, let me surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and offer my obeisances unto him, who is beyond the conception of human speculation, the mind, activities, words, and arguments, who is the original cause of this cosmic manifestation, by whom the entire cosmos is maintained, and by whom we can conceive of its existence. Let me simply offer my obeisances, for he is beyond my contemplation, speculation, and meditation. He is beyond all my material activities. Purport. One simply has to realize the greatness of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One should not try to understand him by any material means, subtle or gross. Mother Yashoda, being a simple woman, could not find out the real cause of her vision. Therefore, out of maternal affection, she simply offered obeisances unto the Supreme Lord to protect her child. She could do nothing but offer obeisances to the Lord. It is said, Achintya kalau ye bhava natams tarkena yojayet. Mahabharat Bhishma Parva 5:22. One should not try to understand the supreme cause by argument or reasoning. When we are beset by some problem for which we can find no reason, there is no alternative than to surrender to the Supreme Lord and offer him our respectful obeisances. Then our position will be secure. This was the means adopted in this instance also by Mother Yashoda. Whatever happens, the original cause is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sarvakarna Karnam. When the immediate cause cannot be ascertained, let us simply offer our obeisances at the lotus feet of the Lord. Mother Yashoda concluded that the wonderful things she saw within the mouth of her child were due to him, although she could not clearly ascertain the cause. Therefore, when a devotee cannot ascertain the cause of suffering, he concludes, Tat te nukumpam shushamiksha samano, bunjana evatma kritam vipakam, hridvag vapurabir, vida dan namuste, jveta ajiveta yo mukti pade sadayabak. Srimad Bhagavatam 10.14.8. The devotee accepts that it is due to his own past misdeeds that the Supreme Personality of Godhead has caused him some small amount of suffering. Thus, he offers obeisances to the Lord again and again. Such a devotee is called Muktipadi Sadayabak, that is, he is guaranteed his liberation from this material world. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 2.14, Matras pashastu konteya situshna shukadukada abgamapayino nityastam tatikshashva bharata. We should know that material suffering is due to the material body, and it will come and go. Therefore, we must tolerate the suffering and proceed with discharging our duty as ordained by our spiritual master. Text 42. It is by the influence of the Supreme Lord's Maya that I am wrongly thinking that Nanda Maharaj is my husband, that Krishna is my son, and that because I am the queen of Nanda Maharaj, all the wealth of cows and calves are my possessions, and all the cowherd men and their wives are my subjects. Actually, I also am eternally subordinate to the Supreme Lord. He is my ultimate shelter. Purport. Following in the footsteps of Mother Yashoda, everyone should follow this mentality of renunciation. Whatever wealth, opulence, or whatever else we may possess belongs not to us, but to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the ultimate shelter of everyone and the ultimate owner of everything, as stated by the Lord himself in Bhagavad Gita 5.29. Bhoktaram yatapsam sarvalok mahesharam saridam sarvabhutanam yatmamam shantamichiti. Quote, the sages, knowing me as the ultimate purpose of all sacrifices and austerities, the Supreme Lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attain peace from the pangs of material miseries. End quote. We should not be proud of our possessions. As expressed by Mother Yashoda herein, quote, I am not the owner of possessions, the opulent wife of Nanda Maharaj, The estate, the possessions, the cows and calves, and the subjects like the gopis and cowherdmen are all given to me." End quote. One should give up thinking of, quote, "my possessions, my son, my husband," end quote. Janasya mahoyam aham mameti. Nothing belongs to anyone but the Supreme Lord. Only because of illusion do we wrongly think, quote, "I am existing," or, quote, "everything belongs to me," end quote. Thus, Mother Yasoda completely surrendered unto the Supreme Lord. For the moment, she was rather disappointed, thinking, quote, "My endeavors to protect my son by charity and other auspicious activities are useless. The Supreme Lord has given me many things, but unless he takes charge of everything, there is no assurance of protection. Therefore, I must ultimately seek shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead." End quote. As stated by Prahlad Maharaj, Srimad Bhagavatam 7.9.19, "Balasya nehe sharanam pitorao nisingha." A father and mother cannot ultimately take care of their children. Atogri kshetra sutapavatar janasya mahoyam ahamameti. Srimad Bhagavatam 5.8. One's land, home, wealth, and all of one's possessions belong to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although we wrongly think, quote, "I am this," end quote, and, quote, "these things are mine," end quote. Text 43. Mother Yashoda, by the grace of the Lord, could understand the real truth, but then again, the Supreme Master, by the influence of the internal potency, Yogamaya, inspired her to become absorbed in intense maternal affection for her son. Purport. Although Mother Yashoda understood the whole philosophy of life, at the next moment she was overwhelmed by affection for her son by the influence of Yogamaya. Unless she took care of her son, Krishna, she thought, how could he be protected? She could not think otherwise, and thus she forgot all her philosophical speculations. This forgetfulness is described by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur as being inspired by the influence of Yogamaya, Mohana Sardhamyan Mayam. Materialistic persons are captivated by Mahamaya, whereas devotees, by the arrangement of the spiritual energy, are captivated by Yogamaya. Text 44. Immediately forgetting Yogamaya's illusion that Krishna had shown the universal form within his mouth, Mother Yashoda took her son on her lap as before, feeling increased affection in her heart for her transcendental child. Purport. Mother Yashoda regarded the vision of the universal form within Krishna's mouth as an arrangement of Yogamaya, like a dream. As one forgets everything after a dream, Mother Yashoda immediately forgot the entire incident. As her natural feeling of affection increased, she decided to herself, quote, "Now let this incident be forgotten. I do not mind. Here is my son. Let me kiss him." End quote. Text 45. The glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are studied through the three Vedas, the Upanishads, the literature of Shankar Yoga, and other Vaishnava literature. Yet, Mother Yashoda considered that Supreme Person her ordinary child. Purport. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 15:15 by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, the purpose of studying the Vedas is to understand Him. Vedascha savar aham eva vedya. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained to Sanatana Goswami that there are three purposes in the Vedas. One is to understand our relationship with Krishna, Sambandha. Another is to act according to that relationship, Abhideya. And the third is to reach the ultimate goal, Prayojana. The word Prayojana means necessities, and the ultimate necessity is explained by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Prema Pumarto Mahan. The greatest necessity for a human being is the achievement of love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Here we see that Mother Yashoda is on the highest stage of necessity, for she is completely absorbed in love for Krishna. In the beginning, the Vedic purpose is pursued in three ways, Trayi, by Karmakanda, Jnanakanda, and Upashanakanda. When one reaches the complete, perfect stage of Upashanakanda, one comes to worship Narayan, or Lord Vishnu. When Parvati asked Lord Mahadev, Lord Shiva, what is the best method of upasana or worship, Lord Shiva answered, Aradhananam sarvesham Vishnur Aradhanam param. Vishnu Pashana, or Vishnu Aradhana, worship of Lord Vishnu, is the highest stage of perfection, as realized by Devaki. But here, Mother Yashoda performs no upasana, for she has developed transcendental ecstatic love for Krishna. Therefore, her possession is better than that of Devaki. In order to show this, Srila Vyasadeva enunciates this verse. Traya Chopanisabi, etc. When a human being enters into the study of the Vedas to obtain vidya, knowledge, he begins to take part in human civilization. Then he advances further to study the Upanishads and gain Brahmagyan, impersonal realization of the absolute truth, and then he advances still further to Sankhya Yoga in order to understand the Supreme Controller, who is indicated in Bhagavad Gita, Param Brahma, Param Dhamma, Pavitam Pavam Babam, Purusham Sattvatam. When one understands that Purusha, the Supreme Controller, to be Paramatma, one is engaged in the method of yoga. Dinavashtita tadgatena manasa pashyanti yam yogina. But Mother Yashoda has surpassed all these stages. She has come to the platform of loving Krishna as her beloved child, and therefore she is accepted to be on the highest stage of spiritual realization. The absolute truth is realized in three features, Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavaniti Sabdite. But she is in such ecstasy that she does not care to understand what is Brahman, what is Paramatma, or what is Bhagavan. Bhagavan has personally descended to become her beloved child. Therefore, there is no comparison to Mother Yashoda's good fortune, as declared by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Ramya kaschid upasana rajavadhu vargena ya kalpita. The Supreme Absolute Truth, the personality of Godhead, may be realized in different stages. As the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 4.11, Ye tamam prapadyante tam sataiva bhajami aham. Mama vartmanu vartante manushya partasarvashaha. Quote, as men surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects, O son of Prita. End quote. One may be a karmi, a jnani, a yogi, and then a bhakta or prema bhakta, but the ultimate stage is realization is prema bhakti, as actually demonstrated by Mother Yashoda. Text 46. Having heard of the great fortune of Mother Yashoda, Parikshit Maharaj inquired from Shukadeva Goswami, quote, O learned Brahmana, Mother Yashoda's breast milk was sucked by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What past auspicious activities did she and Nanda Maharaj perform to achieve such perfection in ecstatic love? Purport. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 7.16, Chatur Vidna Bhajantimam Jnana Sukriti Narjuna. Without Sukriti, or pious activities, no one can come to the shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord is approached by four kinds of pious men, Arto, Jignasur, Artarthi, Jnanicha. But here we see that Nanda Maharaj and Yasoda surpassed all of them. Therefore, Parikshit Maharaj naturally inquired, quote, what kind of pious activities did they perform in their past lives by which they achieved such a stage of perfection? End quote. Of course, Nanda Maharaj and Yasoda are accepted as the father and mother of Krishna. Yet, Mother Yashoda was more unfortunate than Nanda Maharaj, Krishna's father, because Nanda Maharaj was sometimes separated from Krishna, whereas Yasoda, Krishna's mother, was not separated from Krishna at any moment. From Krishna's babyhood to his childhood, and from his childhood to his youth, Mother Yasoda was always in association with Krishna. Even when Krishna was grown up, he would go to Vrindavan and sit on the lap of Mother Yashoda. Therefore, there is no comparison to the fortune of Mother Yashoda, and Parikshit Maharaj naturally inquired, Yashoda cha Mahabhaga. Text 47. Although Krishna was so pleased with Vasudeva and Devaki that he descended as their son, they could not enjoy Krishna's magnanimous childhood pastimes, which are so great that simply chanting about them vanquishes the contamination of the material world. Nanda Maharaj and Yasoda, however, enjoyed these pastimes fully, and therefore their position is always better than that of Devaki and Vasudeva. Purport. Krishna actually took birth from the womb of Devaki, but just after his birth he was transferred to the home of Mother Yashoda. Devaki could not even have Krishna suck her breast. Therefore, Parikshit Maharaj was astonished. How had Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj become so fortunate that they enjoyed the complete childhood pastimes of Krishna, which are still glorified by saintly persons? What had they done in their past by which they were elevated to such an exalted position? End quote. Text 48. Shukadeva Goswami said, to follow the orders of Lord Brahma, Drona, the best of the Vasus, along with his wife, Dara, spoke to Lord Brahma in this way. Purport. As stated in the Brahma Samhita 537, Ananda Chinmayara sa pratitapitabi, tabir ya eva nijarupataya kalabi, Goloka eva nivashati akilatma bhuta, govindam adi purusham tamham bhajami. When Krishna descends anywhere, he is accompanied by his own associates. These associates are not ordinary living beings. Krishna's pastimes are eternal, and when he descends, he comes with his associates. Therefore, Nanda and Mother Yasoda are the eternal father and mother of Krishna. This means that whenever Krishna descends, Nanda and Yasoda, as well as Vasudeva and Devaki, also descend as the Lord's father and mother. Their personalities are expansions of Krishna's personal body. They are not ordinary living beings. Maharaj Parikshit knew this, but he was curious to know from Shukadeva Goswami whether it is possible for an ordinary human being to come to this stage by sadhana siddhi. There are two kinds of perfection, nitya siddhi and sadhana siddhi. A nitya siddhi is one who eternally is Krishna's associate, an expansion of Krishna's personal body, whereas a sadhana siddhi is an ordinary human being who, by executing pious activities and following the regular principles of devotional service, also comes to that stage. Thus, the purpose of Maharaj Parikshit's inquiry was to determine whether an ordinary human being can attain the position of Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj. Shukadeva Goswami answered this question as follows. Text 49. Drona and Dara said, please permit us to be born on the planet Earth, so that after our appearance, the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, the Supreme Controller and Master of all planets, will also appear and spread devotional service, the ultimate goal of life, so that those born in this material world may very easily be delivered from the miserable condition of materialistic life by accepting this devotional service. Purport. This statement by Drona clearly indicates that Drona and Dara are the eternal father and mother of Krishna. Whenever there is a necessity of Krishna's appearance, Drona and Dara appear first, and then Krishna appears. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that his birth is not ordinary. Janma karma chame divyam. Ajo pisan avyayatma bhutanam ishvaro pisan prakritim swam adishtaya shambhavami Atmamayaya. Quote, although I am unborn and my transcendental body never deteriorates, and although I am the Lord of all sentient beings, I still appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form. End quote. Bhagavad Gita 4.6. Before Krishna's appearance, Drona and Dara appear in order to become his father and mother. It is they who appear as Nanda Maharaj and his wife, Yasoda. In other words, it is not possible for a sadhana siddha living entity to become the father and mother of Krishna, for Krishna's father and mother are already designated. But by following the principles exhibited by Nanda Maharaj and Yasoda in
Krishna
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. What? That was fast. Yeah, it's very fast. The booties are already taking for sure. Okay. We keep that. Switch something. Very good. Those guys, they went back to their house, they said, you guys should come with us. I didn't see them this one.
They went to us. Two of them is going to school.
Father has been coming for years. Long time ago. And then I'm glad you took it for you. Let's. What second you can saying they don't go straight, they don't do this. Hari Bol. Sweet devotee, thank you all of you very much.
Hare
Going.
Krishna Gurudev.
Hare Krishna.
Please accept my humble obeisances.
Thank you all very much.
Hare Krishna, Guru.
Hare Krishna. We are going. Guru Puja.
Jai.
Haribol. Jai Srila Prabhupada, Guru Puja ki Jai. Jai Srila
Jai.
Gurudev.
See you later. Enjoy your day with full Krishna consciousness.
Thank you, Gurudev.
Thank you, Gurudev. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Shila Gurudev. Hare Krishna.